fundsupermart.com.
What is your outlook on Asian markets in 2013?
We are positive on Asian markets. I think a lot of the issues that we were worried about over the past few years, since 2010, 2011, 2012, the issues that surrounded whether US economy was recovering, whether the Europe debt crisis would implode, and whether China was going to go through a hard landing, those key issues have come to pass, and I think some of those concerns have dissipated and reduced. And combine that with liquidity, a lot of money on the sidelines, combine that with the fact that a lot of investors have been very risk-averse towards equities. And finally, the third piece of that puzzle is valuations. Valuations are still very decent. So all those factors combined, we think Asian equities should have a positive year.
What are some of the key performance drivers of Asia equities?
It's really the shift from being very risk-averse. I think if you look at the amount of monies in bank deposits, the amount of monies that have been invested in bonds, I'm not saying they'll all shift, but all you need is a little bit of that money to move out of very safe type investments to shift back into equities. Within Asia, some of that money is from global markets continuing to shift into Asia. I think those are the key drivers, right? Apart from the economies, which are still doing okay.
What about the key risks of Asia equities? The
key risks are those factors that I mentioned earlier in terms of the US, Europe, and China. I think we can fairly discount the possibility of China going through a hard landing. I think that's behind us. But whether Europe goes through the kind of crisis that we saw in the past 2-3 years, whether it reoccurs, I think that's something that we have to be mindful of. Whether the US economic recovery would continue to take hold, assuming they sort out their fiscal cliff, they sort out their debt ceiling, arrive at some sort of a grand bargain, then it's fine. But if there's a policy misstep, then that could trigger concerns about the US economic recovery again.
Which countries or sectors demonstrate your strongest conviction for 2013 and why?
We like China. I think China has turned the corner in terms of economic growth. China has turned the corner in terms of investors' allocation. For the past 3 years, a lot of investors have shunned China because of fears over a hard landing and their tightening policies. But I think that has changed, and I think we'll continue to see inflows into China. Apart from China, I think there are still stock-picking opportunities in the region. We like some of the sectors or stocks in Thailand. Even within Indonesia, where we may not like the overall market, we think there are specific ideas that us as a bottom-up stock picker believe we can make money in.
Conversely, which countries or sectors do you have the least conviction for 2013 and why?
As I mentioned in passing, from a top-down perspective, we do have some concerns over Indonesia as well as India because of their current account deficits, because of their budget deficits. So there could be concerns on currencies. If ever there's a loss of confidence amongst foreign investors and they withdrew their capital from, let's say, India or Indonesia, the repercussions on the currency as well as valuations of financial assets can be quite severe. Right? But having said that, I think stock picking opportunities, we are familiar with Indonesia. I think there's still opportunities to make money, assuming that kind of scenario doesn't happen.
What is your advice for investors looking to invest or are currently invested in the Asia equities?
Stay invested. I would encourage investors to deploy more monies into equities. Obviously, everybody has their different asset allocation profile or risk profiles, but typically I would encourage, and I've been encouraging friends, relatives to continue to deploy some more monies into equities.